religions, different culture, different understanding, it gets better. I come from Terengganu. Not many people from Terengganu will be in church. I went to a boarding school in Scotland for my A-levels. We go to church every week. Nothing wrong with it. I don't pray in church. And I'm a member of the school orchestra. We perform for Christmas carol every year in the church. It just so happened, in the Kampong village in Scotland, the biggest hall in the whole Kampong is a church. So, that's where people congregate. I grew up in the most conservative setting in Terengganu. I went to Malay College for the Cancer, all Malay, all Muslim boarding school. But it's not so much a question of what you put in writing about all the so-called national unity act. I don't believe in all that. People relate to someone they like. Asians are very patriarchal society. They look up to their leaders. They look up to top leaders around them. If you put people who are tolerant, who can explain, who lead a different type of being a Muslim, who can show that Muslims and Christians can have differences, but we do it civilly, who can argue about religion in civil manner, then I think we should be able to push the extreme religious forces in society to the bridge. You can't get rid. There will always be people who look at things so conservative. You can't change these people, partly as well because of the interaction that they have. People who grew up in Terengganu. In Terengganu, there are less than 2% non-Muslims. All those people who don't like Christians or Buddhists or they can be two reasons. Number one, they are so not knowledgeable about religion. They don't actually know. They just follow and parrot what people say about Christians, about Islam, about this and that. Or they can be quite knowledgeable, but they don't have interactions with people of different faith. I always say that I think part of the reasons why a part that is predominantly influenced by leaders from the East Coast become like that because there's hardly any non-Muslims in East Coast. Their mind setting is all about an extremely homogeneous Muslim society because they don't live in the West Coast. They don't live overseas. They don't become Muslim minorities elsewhere. The way that I grew up and spent 10 years in the UK, I'm a Muslim minority. So we look at things slightly differently. When you have to live and let live, then you study more and your understanding about what Islam is becomes a lot more divergent than an understanding of Islam in a homogeneous Muslim society. So to summarize, I think if we put if the leadership of the country, either political leadership, religious leadership, social leaderships, are the type who are open-minded, that is the slow process that will allow those people in society who previously think otherwise begin to appreciate differences. But it's a process and you cannot let it this. What society can do is this. Always throw your support to the most balanced of society needs. Just because you are Christians, if you support Malay leaders who are extremely liberal, that's actually not necessarily good. It's music to your ears, but it becomes the source of anger of the majority of Muslims. That usually happens in this country. Likewise, Muslims, when they support Ridwan T, because whatever Ridwan T, Chinese convert, is music to their ears, but is a source of anger and hatred that makes things worse. You always need to balance between what you want to hear with what is good for the plural Malaysia, and it's a process. That process can only take place when you allow debate, when you allow exchanges, and when you support people who take the most middle way to the best of every society, every groups in our society's interest. And that is not something that we can do within months, within years. I think it's a natural process, and I hope that when Pakatan wins, Pakatan Harapan must have a zero tolerance policy on religious extremists, people who are racist, who do not promote racial and religious tolerance. So long as from among our ranks we put it very clearly that we have zero tolerance policies, I hope that will set the tone, and only people who have a more multiracial and plural overview of society, these are the kind of people that actually influence the thinking in society. Over time, hopefully we'll get better.
Okay, last two questions, running out of time. Media and all that is totally BN and false news. How do you think should counter it? How is your opinion? How should counter all the false media that BN is putting out?
And the last question. Or answer the.
Yeah, this one.
What is going on with PKR Selangor and PKR Harapan? I can comment that. I can comment that first. Well, there's always difference of opinion within PKR, and I think you know. From the very beginning, MD, Azmin, are apprehensive about the strategy to sever ties with PAS. I don't think he's entirely wrong, because 2-3 years ago, PAS seems formidable, and given his position, his number one duty is to protect the state and to protect Pakatan Harapan's government in Islam. It's perfectly understandable. He thinks that a three-corner fight is dangerous. There is no empirical evidence or previous result that can support that and against no three-corner fights. And I think it's jolly good that we have that differences of opinion, because then we were a lot more cautious. That also explains why I think there was some apprehension when Pakatan Harapan was formed, because Pakatan Harapan was seen as a problem to retain Islam previously, because 13 aduns in Selangor are still from PAS. Of course, I belong to a different school of thoughts. I think, based on data and everything, not only that it's doable, I think it's morally right. So it's not so much about defending Selangor at all costs. It is about doing what is morally right. And when PAS doesn't seem to be part of the overall reform agenda anymore, we cannot condone being in the same position just for the sake of freedom. That differences remains. That differences basically set how Azmin, myself, Liza, and others view our relationship in Pakatan Harapan. And as we go closer to election, as we strengthen Pakatan Harapan, that means that PKR Selangor has to relook at their strategy. I don't interfere at all in Selangor. I mean, I have no business in meddling in places we can be. I go to places we are losing. I'm not interested in power. Therefore, I don't want to be part of Selangor. I just happen to be an MP in Selangor. But 99% of my time is spent and energy in states and seats outside, because these are seats which require my help, not Selangor. I'm not good, I think, in managing. I'm good at fighting. So I'm best deployed hitting magic rather than managing. So, of course, I look at the overall game plan. I look at how to be Putrajaya, because 90% of the power lies with the federal government. not with the state government. You know? So that differences has gone on and on, but I think it's almost at the end of it, and I think Peter Selangor, despite whatever reservations and hesitation, has to come along and realize the ship has left. We are sailing. So whether you like it or not, you have to come on board and fight with the majority who believe that the way forward is Pakatan Harapan. So I think given time, eventually they have no choice but to basically join the crowd. And politicians always join the crowd, especially when we are winning. So don't worry, I won't worry too much about that. And last one about media, I wouldn't worry about TV3 or utusan on the media. In fact, the reason why you see the swing on the ground from the Malay voters now quietly is actually not so much because of opposition politicians. It's because of technology, because of Facebook. The way that the end force the type of news in TV3 and utusan really made people put off by the mainstream media. The viewership of mainstream media is a lot lower than digital broadcast and internet. That's why I spend a lot of my time talking to camera in Facebook. Usually, my parliamentary debate, usually within a week, would have been watched by about 2-3 million people. The Facebook that involved managers, my Facebook, the candidate Facebook, all in all, we reach about 5 million registered voters every month. 5 million, and there were only about 10 million voters who came out in the last general election, I think. So we are winning the media battle. That one actually we are winning the media battle. It's just that it's a different media. It's no longer TV. It's actually digital broadcast. That's why out of the 100 permanent staff of Info, about 12 are digital broadcasters. Basically creative people, people who do design, people who, I don't know how many of you follow, but Info does Facebook, digital, political talk over Facebook. Because we know what are the audience, we develop the content and program for the audience, and we beam it direct to the audience, because I'm sure a lot of you don't know that Facebook actually sells your personal details. We pay Facebook for your personal details. So when we identify the fence-sitters in a parliamentary constituency, we then pay Facebook in order to match those fence-sitters with their Facebook. And then if a candidate from this area is on air, we beam that direct to those identified fence-sitters to their Facebook. So they will wake up one day and say, I don't know this guy, I'm not his friend, but there's a posting, a video from that guy. So in that sense, I think we are doing better, if not at par. I know Najib is doing that as well now. You might get a lot of WhatsApp or sponsored ads from Najib. Cuma the content is different. And I think we are ahead in terms of content because we talk about positive things. We talk about the voters, the livelihood, the economy, about what we will do. And we can thank Najib and Rosman. So it is something that is quite easy to do. I mean, to discredit Najib and Rosman is very easy. To tell people that things are hard is very easy. Our counterparts on the part of Najib has a much more difficult job. They have to make Najib and Rosman look pretty, not easy. So that's why for the last few months, they have focused on very racist campaigning. I will do one police report maybe next week, because if you notice, there has been this video circulating about Chinese in Singapore scolding Malays here and there, and they say that if you vote for Pakatan, this is what happens. So they will resort to that. The fortunate thing is this, I think we are in a position to counter. So in terms of media, in terms of access to people, I think we are better, if not neck and neck. So all the advantages that Najib or BM used to have is no longer there. That's why my last part, actually it boils down to cheating. It's all this problem. So you ask me all the other aspects of campaigning, I think we are taken care of. The only bit which we cannot do on our own is the pacha. And we need every single one of you and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the one other questions, we will try to decipher the handwriting first of all, and if we can get an answer, we'll pass to you. I think the other part that he did talk about, that you all can help, Pacha is one definitely help. The other one is financial contribution, okay, even to what you hope, because they spend a lot of money, as you well know, to make all these things happen, okay. So he has applied a lot of his own money, okay, other people in faith. That's, I think the small amounts that give from the large group of people will make also an important difference. Okay, so we go to the invoke page and question the donation page. Yeah, okay, and then if you address them, you'll be good. Okay, but Pacha is critical. Pacha is critical. So after this, you want to have the first case of Pacha training involves test. Light Upmake is there to train you. Okay, you have no lunch, I'm providing lunch up there. Okay, so you have lunch, you go up there. So let's put hands together again. Thank you,